Good afternoon, everybody. Charlie Velasquez here from Rugby in Florida and Tifro, doing a little special edition of our podcast. We have somebody who has been here before and most people like. I'm not going to say everybody, but most people like, and which is Cisco Lopez. And without further ado, I'm going to bring him in because he needs no introduction. Hi, Cisco.
Hey.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Oh, and look who showed up there just almost on time.
Snuck it in.
Let's bring this gentleman in.
Oh,
Still setting up. Give me a second. They're knocking on my door. Take it away, Ross.
you're muted, I think.
Oh, now I can hear you.
Yeah.
Buenos días.
Paolo.
Jesus.
And
How
Dom.
are you guys?
Good. How are you guys?
Oh, great. We got the full dream team.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know about that.
Ross, you're still the number 24th best referee in Florida.
No,
I'll take that as a compliment.
That's not true.
Even if I haven't reffed in a year because of injuries, thanks to Trini.
You can barely walk, man. Come on.
I'll be out there Saturday.
So let's introduce everybody.
Beautiful. Oh, my God.
Cisco. We have Kai Martinovic. Hi, Kai.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Good. And Tom Ciampa and Mr. Paulo Duarte, which is a referee from the I don't know, maybe you're a referee for many things, from Portugal, for once. Muito obrigado por você estar aqui. My Portuguese is not very good.
Obrigado, Charlie.
So welcome, everybody. And the occasion is, we touch base with Cisco now and then after he participates in one of the big tournaments. And I just thought it would be nice to have other referees joining us because they know what they're talking about. I don't really know what I'm talking about when it comes to refereeing. So tell us about a little bit, Cisco, of your last tournament was Hong Kong.
Yeah,
really
Hong Kong, which
iconic tournament.
super iconic. Super. It was one of those where I think so much of the last couple of tournaments for me have been really pinching myself at like the privilege and opportunity to be involved in like such a like wildly competitive and sort of like spectacular tournament. And so to go to Hong Kong and sort of like really like be there at such a historic venue and like watch Fiji play and all the fans going crazy for Fiji and GB and booing all the Kiwis and stuff was like, it's one of those things where, I grew up, just like everybody else in the States, getting up in the middle of the night to watch rugby, to watch Hong Kong Sevens, like setting alarms so that you could watch like USA play or whoever other teams you were supporting play, and to be there physically was it was like super, super special. I didn't get to go into the South Stand, unfortunately. We were told it was off limits, but hopefully I get another opportunity and I might sneak it. Who knows?
Too much going on that stand, I guess.
Yeah. So unfortunately, though, Paolo wasn't there. It's one of the only tournaments this year that we didn't get to share time with. So.
Oh, Paulo, you missed it. Why is that?
So because I'm for 2 months participating in the Major League. So I didn't go to Hong Kong and Singapore. I'll be back to Toulouse and London. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it with Cisco. Should be a special moment for him, especially first tournament in Hong Kong. And I completely agree with his words. It's such an iconic and special moment for referees to be a part of. Not just the booing and the cheering. The smell that comes from the South Stand is so special when you're a referee. And I understand why it's completely off limits for referees, at least until the end of the tournament.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know that you surely enjoyed it, and it's very, very special.
I thought you skipped it because Tropical Sevens was such an honor.
It was a much bigger tournament, much more important.
I agree. And it was really, really hot, so That part was amazing.
It gets harder. It gets harder. Just come back in July.
Oh, we've got Summer Sevens coming up, Paolo.
Charlie, I was saying, come to Florida, get used to the sun and the warmth. It's raining and cold. I don't know.
It's 82 degrees, to be fair.
And that's old Lopez there giving you greetings.
Love it.
Ross, say something.
Yes.
I haven't seen you in a while, Ross.
Listen, I'm a hard man to pin down, as you know.
Oh,
with
yeah.
my 12 jobs and 2 kids that play sports. I'm sitting here in the softball parking lot because my daughter forgot her wristband with her plays on it for her softball match today, so I had to come and bring that. So I wasn't going to make it home in time, but congrats, Cisco. I just want to ask Cisco, can you give us sort of a from start to finish, when you get off the plane at a tournament, how it goes for you? You know, when you guys meet up, when you find your assignments, how you spend your time when you're there.
Yeah, so the Sevens is actually a really tightly run ship. Patty O'Brien, our manager, is pretty big on our schedule and making sure that we're on time and it all flows efficiently and without any wrinkle at all. And so it's pretty simple. Like we come in, there's a team liaison officer. I don't know if anybody has seen on the World Rugby Sevens social media pages, they just had a spotlight on some of the liaison officers and all the work that the liaison officers do behind the scenes to help. They're basically the point people for all of the teams that are there. And so what the liaisons officers will do once we arrive is they'll help us to get to our transit or pick us up physically themselves to take us to the hotel. Normally, if we're getting in at night, we'll just go straight to bed. If we have some free time during the day and the liaison is free, they might give us suggestions on where to go because they're usually a local in that area. So whether it's, finding a coffee shop in Vancouver or finding out how to get to the harbor the quickest when you're in Sydney, the liaison officers really are great to have that value. They as well help with all of the logistical stuff in terms of then booking our training sessions and making sure that we have a field to train on, because we do 2 field training sessions before the weekend. We also get in the gym. So it's actually a lot more prep and a lot more work than I think a lot of people realize. I think a lot of people think they see that we go in maybe a week before and they think, oh man, these referees must just be sightseeing and going crazy and having fun. And we do have a lot of fun, but we only have 1 free day to totally do from the moment we get up to the moment we go to sleep, whatever we want. And usually as well, how that works out is as a team, we'll figure out, what are the big things people want to do? Whose first time is it in the city? Maybe there's something like really iconic that we have to do. Maybe a couple of us have been here before and we want to kind of see the local spots. And so a lot of meetings as well. So we have a technical session where we go over some of the decisions that were maybe really questionable or really good from the last tournament and how to kind of make that gap as small as possible so that we're refereeing like as good as possible. So yeah, a lot of meetings. And Paulo's got whatever 6,867 games on the series now. So he's had many a pre-season or pre-tournament week. He can talk a lot more about it as well.
No, I agree with you. A lot of people say, oh, you go on holidays for Hong Kong and Dubai, all these amazing places, but we actually have a lot of work to do. And as Cisco said, we had the training sessions, we have our technical training sessions, which it's like probably some calibration between tournaments or something that we want to work on because of the trends that the game presented itself for us. So something that the teams and the referees will look at going forward for the tournament. Definitely one of the things that we reinforce in the Sevens, it's a fitness game, sacrifice. We have to be fit. And one of the things that we really work at is the physical pillar. And we have really, really hard training sessions. Even in the recovery session, you'll feel like it's not a recovery session. It will be high tempo, high heart rate during the session, all session. And then we'll have a really, really tough session that will prepare us most likely to the tournament coming up, especially going to Hong Kong or to Dubai or even Vancouver, which probably is the coolest stop we have in the series. we need to acclimatize. We need to adjust to the time zone as well. And some of us
LA was pretty cool this year around, huh?
Oh, I know. We weren't prepared for that. It started really well, and then we actually made to hail, storm, heavy rain, flooding in the field. So at the end of the day, we will need to be prepared for that. And one of the things that more you go as well with your experience is, depending on those factors as well, the game will change, and we need to be ready. So a lot of focus leading to the tournament. Obviously, one of the most important things as well is to have fun, to make memories. And Cisco said that we have a day off during the week, which allow us to go and visit, to meet people, to meet places, especially being to those stops with iconic history and cultures. We need to enjoy it, because it's not just the work. And we'll have those times to enjoy as well.
Hey, anybody can jump in if you have questions. I have one question for Cisco. We were talking a little bit earlier. You guys also have like a very detailed and strict procedure for after the game in terms of analysis and what do you call it?
Review. Yeah.
Can you tell us about how that goes? Maybe we can do that here, Ross.
What's that supposed to mean, Charlie?
Are you volunteering?
Hey, I'm giving you guys ideas to make things better.
Yeah, so I was talking to Charlie a little bit about it before, because I think as well, people think a little maybe like misunderstanding maybe as well that some people might have as referees, we just referee a game and then we go back to the locker room, high five each other, go back home, and then do it again. And it's much more intense than that. So after our game's done, we immediately have the ability to go pick up our games from our analyst, whose name is Matt Johnson. And so we can just, from a thumb drive, pick up the production, like both the production view, a wide angle view, and a tight angle shot of the whole game. And so basically you'll go through the game, and what you're looking for, it's a big reason why, like Paulo's brought up, a big reason why we have such an emphasis on enjoyment is that we have to be really harsh on ourselves, because we have to be almost perfect, as close to perfect as we can be. We also accept that that's not always going to be possible. And so when we go through a review with that in mind, we're sort of looking at what are the decisions that we got wrong is kind of most of the focus. So either you have decisions that you were errors, so you blew the whistle, but you didn't need to blow the whistle, or you got it wrong, or you have a non-decision where you didn't blow the whistle, but you needed to blow the whistle. And then we categorize those two into just the general parameters too, of either at the tackle ruck, because the tackle ruck is such a sort of like building block of the game of sevens, and then general. So that could be open play, set piece, etc. So you go through all of that on your own. And then at the end, you do that for every game through the day. So if you have 3 games in a day, you'll do that 3 times. And then at the end of the day, we get clips back from our managers and our performance reviewers looking at the same things, basically. And hopefully what you'll get at the end of the day is your review of yourself matches the review that the reviewers have given you. And if you haven't, then you need to review better. And if you have, then that's good. And also as well, like you sometimes want to be trying to find things that the reviewers aren't finding either, because they're doing it. They're reviewing a game, and then once that game is done, they're moving on to the next game for review. So that you should be able as a referee to comb through your game with a little bit of like a finer tooth and be able to find those personal places of growth that you can have.
And do you get like points? Like
no points at all.
No points.
No points at all.
Grade A, B, B minus, C.
No, the grade is just the work that you did, just the fact that you got your.
What would be the best outcome, Cisco, if you are graded well?
Honestly, it's just like I think like my entire experience in Hong Kong, just nothing. If I get nothing, if I get no grade, if I get no communication other than the clips that I inevitably am going to get, then I know I'm going well. No news is good news. So if I start waiting for a grading scale, I'll go crazy.
Do they wait to assign the knockout stuff, Cisco, till after the group stages, or when do you find out who gets the knockout stuff?
Yeah, so usually how it works too is that we'll referee all of the way that the assignments work is all of the group assignments are done at once, and then at the end of the final round of group fixtures, then the first knockout game assignments will go out. So whether that's for the men, the bowl and cup quarters, and then for the women, the cup quarters, and then the challenger bracket.
And Cisco, on the series, is that
refs away from the? Go ahead, Tom.
No, I was going to say on the series, is it the same as like local tournaments where you kind of give the best refs the good games? Do they do any sort of development stuff, or is it purely based on performance for that weekend?
I would say it's almost always on performance. It's mostly on performance. It's not entirely on performance. There are other sort of factors that go into assignments as well. But of course, for games like knockout games, and I'm not an assigner, so I don't make those selections. So I've never been told exactly what the parameters and stuff like this are, because that's also just how selection goes. But I would say it's a mix of performance as well as some other things. So like maybe there's experience in the mix. Maybe if it's early season, like I would be at least honest with how I felt about. I did have the really cool opportunity to referee a cup quarterfinal in Vancouver in 2021. I felt at the time it was very much like, okay, we think that you've refereed well enough, and we want to see how you'll go. But there are other referees in that competition at the time that I felt had refereed just as well, had just as much, if not more, experience as me. And so at the end of the day, selection, like so many things, is kind of one person's opinion. And I think a lot of the parameters, though, are on performance.
So are you coming home?
I would love to come home. I would love to referee some Miami Sharks games. I don't know where the stadium is going to be. I'm really interested to hear more information about the Miami Sharks. I think they've done a fantastic job at being really transparent with.
It's between the Dolphin Stadium and the Inter Miami Stadium. They just
Is it really?
Miami Stadium or the pink one?
Yeah,
I
did hear
Dyer Park's in the mix. We might get a game Dyer Park.
I did see, actually, because again, they're actually really good with. I think for a team that doesn't have any face, any name signed yet, they're already creating like a lot of content and keeping people in the know with what they're trying to do. So I'm actually, as an FIU alumni, actually also very excited to see that they might be playing at FIU Stadium. That'd be really cool to see. Rugby at the university I went to is just like, that's, I mean, obviously it's their FIU rugby club. Shout out to Ronnie Suarez. Absolute legend. I would not be where I am without him. But also just like to have professional rugby in that stadium, it just blows my mind at the possibility.
My understanding, that's not going to happen.
Okay, well, thanks for that.
Don't ruin it, Charlie. Come on, the guy's having a moment.
Say it again, Kai.
He's having a moment. Don't ruin it for him.
Yeah, no, it's okay. It's okay. It's all good.
So, listen, one of the milestones, I guess, in your short career in these HSBC sevens is the final you did at Vancouver for the first time. How did that, when that was announced, what was it like for you? And we're going to look at a clip that was a very controversial play that you had to resolve.
No, not controversial at all. It's just a crazy situation.
For the viewer, it's like a crazy thing. But just tell us when you got appointed, what went through your mind?
Yeah, and I would love to hear Paulo talk about his, because he's done many finals as well now.
Did you
so I'd like at that point in time, no. I think it was one of those where I felt like I had been refereeing well, and I felt like I might have been able to put myself in the running. And again, like we were saying right now, selection is a mixture of a lot of things. It's also, a couple of people's opinions. And so when we're in the changing room and they're announcing who's going to do the final, no, it was just such a cool moment for me. I think like I had, again, like dreamed of, refereeing a final on the HSBC 7 series. I just want to be just like Paulo Duarte so bad. And so to be able to have done that game, I think like that's also such an iconic fixture in women's rugby sevens right now, Australia versus New Zealand. Oh, yeah. So to be trusted to do a game like that, to know as well, to have immediately that self-confidence of like, sweet, like I can do this. It was really, really cool and really special. But definitely I want to hear, Paul, like how many, you've done so many now, like what was it like from your first one and how has it changed since then?
Well, firstly, to get what you said around selection and performance, one of the things that we in the World Series get, and then something that we can use as well for community rugby or professional rugby is you have performance and you have selection. And if you perform well, you put yourself in a good place to be selected, but you don't control selection. So we sometimes, as a referee, we feel like we need to be selected and we need to be perfect, and we feel the pressure of selection. And in a way, most of the referees that actually referee at a high level, they learn how to deal with selection, especially around performance. And as Cisco said as well, performance will have probably 80%, 90% of the work done to be selected, but sometimes experience or the type of game, the type of teams, the style that is played will plays part as well. And sometimes me and Cisco will be at the same spot, capable to referee a final, and Cisco get it, I don't, or I get it and Cisco doesn't. So it doesn't mean that
That just happened once. That just happened once. So all the rest of the time they pick you. Like, so
well,
that was nice. That was nice.
That was good. That was good. But then again, is the message is very clear. You don't know the criteria. At the end of the day, you don't know the criteria. Maybe our tournament sometimes is measured by the number of clips we have in our performance review list. If you have one, probably you get it right. But if it's the one that is really a high impact decision, like missing a red card, one is just enough to take you off of playoffs, knockout games. But sometimes it's just a knock on that doesn't mean anything, and okay, I'm refereeing well. So taking that into account, more that we referee in front of what's in front of us, enjoying ourselves, be ourselves, and being confident on our refereeing will probably put ourselves in a good position to be selected. And eventually it comes. And sometimes it took me 3 years to be in the playoffs contention. And my first final was in 2019. And I started in the sevens in 2017. So it took me pretty much almost 3 years to be able to do a final. Luckily, I was lucky enough to do Fiji, New Zealand, which is always a good game to referee. 3 penalties in that game, by the way. So,
hey,
yeah,
Tom, take notes.
how good it was. Maybe 100 degrees Fahrenheit, a lot of running. So it was really good experience. But I think the feeling here is, especially for us tier 2 nations that come from a place where rugby is not the main sport, is not as professional, and we have to work double hard to get the same opportunities. It's just a matter of satisfaction towards the work you did, the sacrifices, and actually the pressure that you make and put to your peers, because they will be there and they will be probably more comfortable than us. We'll probably have to work harder than them, especially because the exposure that we get constantly is not the same. And when we get there, we actually prove ourselves, not the others, but ourselves, that we are able to do it. And I remember being in Vancouver and I got the notice that Cisco was going to do the final in Vancouver for the women. And I was like, hell yeah, boy. Hell yeah.
So let's watch this clip and you guys
Here we go. Controversial, I remember, Charlie. I remember.
Oh, wait. Sorry. Oh, no, it's okay. It's so different when you watch it when it's happening, because you watch it after you can. When it was, I was watching this live and I was, oh fuck, what is he gonna call? He's gonna screw it up.
All the confidence, Charlie. All the confidence.
Well, and I think like the testament that clip also speaks to is like just how crazy sevens can be. and how crazy, especially like a final can be, and how something because really when you look at it, it's actually a very simple decision, but it's just where it happens on the field, what the fact that you have to now follow what's happening next, because you have to make that decision of like, oh, okay, this has been like knocked backwards by New Zealand, or it's backwards off New Zealand. So we're playing on, but then now you've still got the ball on the 5-meter line. So there's still an immense amount of pressure in terms of getting an accurate decision after just finishing making a decision that had an immense amount of pressure. And that's honestly the beauty of refereeing sevens for me. And I've talked about this other places too. Like, that's one of the things that I adore so much about sevens is there's so much intensity. It's just compacted into 14 minutes of rugby, that the challenge of being able to referee it well is such a like personal Everest for me. That like, fuck, if I can referee 14 minutes of rugby really well, that's not something a lot of people can say. Then the next step is doing 80, but it's 80 that has a little bit more. It's a different style. It's not as compacted. All of that. Like, again, you wouldn't have a moment like that as often as you would have in sevens, as you would have in 15s, where you've got knocked backwards. Now it's actually a turnover, but then this player's isolated, and it's actually now a penalty against the team that's just made an amazing defensive play. Everyone's confused, and then you have one smart player with experience to just tap, go, and score.
Cisco, when you speak about the expect the unexpected in sevens, I remember watching some of the games in Tropical Sevens this weekend, and that's what it was. It's expecting what never happens in rugby, in the good way and in the bad way, because a good platform for developing referees as well, sevens can be, how good can be, because it creates you moments in the game where you have this situation. There is a knock-on near the 5, there is a possible turnover, a possible penalty, a try scored in 10 seconds, that maybe 15 actions have happened so quickly that we need to be very sharp. And I would like to hear Kai and Tom as well, their experience in the Tropical Sevens, around the sevens, because no matter the level as well, you will have these challenges. And one of the things for me as well, coming high and down in my career, was time and space, and referee what's in front of you. Because sometimes we prepare and get that plan and go, oh, this doesn't happen in the game. So what do you do? How you adapt? And I would like to hear as well, what is your view around this? Because this is a very good example of being ready to referee the unexpected, the chaos, but be ready to referee what's in front of you. And that's what you did. Luckily, you gave the try, but sometimes referee get caught on giving the penalty too early, or don't giving the penalty, or giving the knock-on too early. It's just a matter of being confident to wait, to watch, to react, to analyze, and most importantly, like you said, being accurate in that pressure moment.
Yeah, so one thing that helps at all levels of the game, whether it's Tropical Sevens or on the series, and also answers Will's question that he just put up there, but put yourself in position to make a good decision. So I don't know what happened leading up to that, but typically in sevens, the ball doesn't roll slowly to the 5-meter line. There's usually a 60-meter break involved somewhere. And if you watch Cisco in that clip, he is, stable shoulders, stable head, feet on the ground, watching what's happening, making a good decision. And he's not making that decision running at full tilt from 30 meters away. He's watching exactly what's happening. So that's, it's the advice we get at a community tournament is control your effort, right? You can't control what the players do out there. You can't control how the ball bounces, but you can control the effort that you put in. And if you put yourself into a good position, the right decisions will come. Not always, but you can, that's the controllable.
Yeah, I think, adding on to Tom's point, something that us referees who've been part of the sevens development group have heard over and over again is like effort, positioning, and accuracy. And a good something I heard that like really stuck with me this weekend is like they kind of follow each other. So as long as your effort's up, then work on your positioning, get your positioning right, and if you have both of those things, then accuracy will come. As long as law knowledge is up there and what have you. But it's kind of this compounding effect where as long as your effort and positioning is there, accuracy kind of follows. And then I think following on to Paolo and Cisco's point about expecting the unexpected at Chalkball Sevens, that was a great tournament for that, I think.
What game did you do, Kai? What big game did you get to do?
For the most part, I was doing the U18 boys, and I had one or two U23 men's games, sprinkled in with U16 boys, U18 girls, here and there. You end up getting a wide variety over a tournament like Chalkball Sevens. And I think the biggest thing that surprised me was just the sheer amount of offloading the kids were trying to do. I don't know, Tom, if you noticed this compared to like previous years, it was, I'd have like 3 rucks a game, it felt like, just because a kid would go to ground and just throw the ball wherever they could. And I think that definitely had to keep you on your toes all weekend, because it was like, you're expecting a tackle to happen. You're expecting the ball. Okay, we continue left. Let's say we've got a 2-on-1 on the left. Oh no, the ball is offloaded right, intercept, 60-meter try. It's like, or along those lines where it's just, you've got to work hard just to make sure you're actually seeing what's happening and not falling into a rhythm almost.
Why champagne rugby. It's what we teach here in Florida.
Oh yeah, champagne rugby all day.
Why do you think that is happening? Like so many offloads.
It's the people who post the highlight clips, Charlie. The chicken wing passes and out the back.
I think it's partly a consequence of just watching the sevens. You see a team like Fiji or New Zealand, and they're just throwing these outrageous passes that stick to hand. And it's like, well, it's not going to happen in the US at a U18 level. Yeah.
But and I would just say, on the other side of that too, I think like it is actually such a good way to like keep pressure on the defense. Because it's one of those where it's like, because what happens if there's a tackle and then a ruck? Then defense gets some time to actually set up, get some structure. But then if the ball's even on the ground everywhere, like then everyone's like, well, we got to deal with the ball because we don't know what's going to happen. So then actually, in an interesting way, like does take space away from the defense in a way, or puts more pressure on the defense, even if the ball goes around. You watch Fiji too, like even in, I think it was their semi against, was it New Zealand? Yeah, it's like the ball was going to ground like almost like 1 in 4 offloads. Like 25% of the time, the offload like ball goes to ground, but someone's around it, and like it's about like trying to get the support. And maybe that's the thing that some of the kids don't do that well, because they don't have that awareness still. Like same as like referees need to learn awareness around, like Paulo was saying, like not to overreact to a decision, not to chase a decision, but just referee what's in front of you. And that's like what they're there too to do, right? It's like, oh yeah, like even if my teammate throws a really shoddy offload, if I can work to get into position near where the ball might go, then that'll actually that's that 95% of getting to the ball, and then maybe I chuck it to somebody right away kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. It's just sometimes it's tough to ref though, isn't it? It's definitely a bit tough, and sometimes I think it's a bit happy-go-lucky. Passing for the sake of passing.
Probably you'll have to think about your positioning. You might not get that close. You might be ahead of play, not to get the in the way of the pass as well.
Definitely.
Or you just be trailing every time, but you need to think extra hard to say, oh, I don't want to stop play because I'm going to be in the way, or ducking every time they try to offload. But at the same time, you need to be ready. If they don't offload, you still have to make decisions or not make decisions. So it creates that versatility around the play. And you could see it in the Tropical Sevens. You can see it in the Sevens in the World Series. They always trying to find ways to create space. And especially now because they are big boys, fast boys, very athletic. Even the referees are athletic, by the way. But, oh yes, Cisco, I see your legs. You got to look close for the cameras, right?
Yes.
But they will find ways to challenge us as well as referees, because we go, oh, Fiji always plays offloads, but they can play physical game. South Africa always go vertical and physical, but then they can play wide and fast. Australia will always contest for the ball in the breakdowns. USA will kick to chase and to contest in the kickoffs. So all those kind of things that come into place. And one of the things, just getting back to the first question around how you get yourself in a better position to make decisions around red card or not missing it, just be ready and create your process. Simplify a process is probably one of the things that we learn in the sevens. Keep it simple, referee what's in front of you. And one of the things that Kai and Cisco said around, and even Tom, is know your laws. If you don't know the laws, you cannot referee. If you don't know the laws, you cannot interpret what is happening in the field towards what is expected. But if you know them, then you go through principle as well, and probably what it looks wrong is probably wrong, rather than I think is wrong but it's right in law. So always learn and adapt.
Yeah, the other thing that's changing, and just with technology and the more games being filmed, is the availability to review. I know Cisco and Paulo talked about how the review process works on the series, but even Kai and myself and Kyle Van Deventer, we started in the last 2 years using the Advantage system. And you go in, you code your entire game. You can watch your game start to finish. You go through and say, let me look sequentially at all my breakdown penalties. Let me go look at all my scrums. Let me look at all my lineouts, and your positioning and on all of that. And okay, when I am in this position, I see arriving players, and when I'm in a bad position, I don't see arriving players, or I don't see the first infraction, and I catch the second or third incident at the breakdown. So with that review, it can be very introspective. You can watch yourself, and I don't like when I do that, and I know this made me feel comfortable. But also, being online, you can get access to referee coaches. And I know that's part of the hard part in Florida is we have some very good referee coaches, but they can be 2 hours away from your game, or assigned to a different game that weekend. And it can be very difficult to get watched and get noticed. But if you put your game in Advantage, you can sit down with Terry while he's skiing up in New York, or you can get with somebody on the West Coast and say, take a look at not even the entire game, but 20 minutes of the game, the first half of my game, and review for positioning, decision making, the high impact decisions. How do I handle these? What could I do differently? And that allows you to be better and change. I know myself, I can feel a level of comfort. Take myself as a backline player. And then all of a sudden you have to make scrum time decisions. And I never played in the front row, but when you work with those people who have, and you can get all that experience, what should I be looking for? What should I, where should I stand? How should I have called this? Did I get this one wrong? You can get that level of experience a lot faster.
You do that with the videos I send you, Tom and Kai?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
I don't get the videos you send me anymore. So
well, you have a yellow card, my friend, because more than time the score. So I just have to.
That's neat.
It's all lies.
Tom
gives out so many yellow cards. I have him on a little meme there.
He did the same in Tropical Sevens, by the way, Charlie. Oh, Jesus. Flashing.
Who won the contest on field one? Yeah, thank you. Most yellow cards in the tournament, right here.
Nice. We missed Kyle Van Deventer today. He apologized. He was working. But I believe this season he gave out 9 yellow cards in one game.
Cool.
15, right?
9 total cards. 4 of them were
right.
Yeah. He was like, no, we need to play sevens today is what I want to do.
Hey, Cisco, I did want to ask you about this. During the games, I don't know if it was, I believe it was in Hong Kong. I saw you there was a situation, I think it was New Zealand against Australia. I want to say Australia. And there was 30 seconds on the clock. And the New Zealand ladies were trying sort of to slow it down. And you were like, no, you have to play right away. Right. And I just remember that situation at the Bledsoe Cup last year, where they, that thing happened. Is that something that goes through your mind? Because in sevens, it's second is precious, and they start screwing around. And
yeah. Now you look at the game between Uruguay and USA and Singapore. Uruguay super smartly decide they get a penalty given to them. They look up, they see that there's 30 seconds left. Exactly, that's why I'm shouting you out. They know they have 30 seconds left, and they know, and this is also even to Paulo's point, like it's great for the players to know the laws. They know, if we say that we want a shot for a goal, the game was tied at the time. They're like, we know if we go for a shot for a goal, we have up to 30 seconds to take the kick. And it's from right in front of the post. They're like, we're Uruguayos are going to make the kick, right? So it's just all about them taking the kick at the right time. Like you're saying, seconds, I mean, that basically took US out of going into the quarters because they had to win that game. And so that was huge for the US. Like, and again, like what you're saying, the importance of a second. And for sure, those are things that we're aware of when the score is really tight and the time is coming down. That part of the game becomes managing the clock for the team that's up, and that team that's down is really desperate to get any time. Any time with the ball is what they want, and time without the ball they want to minimize. So oddly enough, too, the very first thing Sarah Hearney was the player talking to me in the game. The very first thing that Sarah Hearney said to me when she saw me in Hong Kong, and this again goes back to Paulo's point, she said, I was looking back at the law book after our conversation. Remember how I didn't know, I thought that we had 30 seconds to decide what we wanted to do. And you were saying, no, you have to do it without delay. And I looked in the law book and that's exactly what it says. So I just wanted to say, like, really, I forgot exactly what she said, but she was just basically giving me kudos for like, well, you know your stuff, like good stuff. And I was like, yeah, thank you. But yeah, those are things that we're totally aware of all the time. Totally aware of for sure.
And it is
also
very that the players come back to you afterwards and say, oh, sorry, referee, you were actually correct on that. If you're wrong, they'll let you know for a week. But
yeah, but Sarah Hearney's class too. She's that player that scored that try too when she had the awareness that she could tell nobody knew what was going on, and she's like, oh, okay, sweet, it's my penalty. I'm just gonna score a try. One of the real good players of the game. Shout out to Cagney. Cagney, I love you.
Cagney. Hey guys from Tropical Sevens, did you get to do any of those New Zealand boys games?
I AR'd for one of them.
Were they really good?
They were fantastic.
I heard that they showed everybody.
Yeah. I mean, every game was one-sided. Yeah, I was ARing for one of the refs out of Boston, Josh, in the 18 boys final against Atlantis. I forget the score now. It was something like 35-7 or near that, with the good old unconscious red card to one of the New Zealanders after kickoff. Yeah,
off the kickoff.
Off the kickoff, yeah, just went head first and knocked himself out for a second. No, but the team was class. And then we saw something on Instagram later, like half of that team is playing for New Zealand World School Sevens later this year. It's like, well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Good.
Hey, I want to ask Cisco. Cisco, you obviously knew what you were getting yourself into fitness-wise and talent level-wise when you went into the circuit. Was there anything that surprised you, either positively or negatively, just about the being a ref at that level?
I mean, it's like yes and no. Huh? What did you say?
How fast I was.
I was very surprised that Paulo was as fast as he is. I was like, this guy's not supposed to be as fast as me. What's going on here? I think, and that's one of the, actually, to be fair, that's one of the things that does, and I wouldn't say surprises me, but is, I think it's it's so impressive to see how fit all of the refs really are. And again, like how much work that we all know that we're all doing in the lead up to a tournament. We all have like a big value around accountability between the men's and the women's groups, and to know that everyone's working hard between tournaments. That goes even further into what we were talking about earlier. Like people forget that, that whole week that we're there, we're doing a bunch of work. And then people also forget that not even the week that we're there, we're doing a bunch of work. Like Paulo said, focusing on our physical pillar, making sure that we are being able to get the fitness scores that we're getting, but then also being able to translate all of our trainings into actual performances on the field. So training relevantly, doing maximal aerobic speed training, doing sprinting stuff, doing change of direction stuff. So in a lot of ways, it's like, I think what's been it's been impressive to see that, like, from the group level, just kind of being like, I hate to say it like this, but I was used to growing up being one of the fittest refs in the state, one of the fittest refs in the country. And it's very humbling very quickly to then go out and do a session that you know you can smash, and everybody is right next to you. And you are working as hard as you can, and you know everybody else is too, and everyone's pushing each other. And I think that camaraderie as well in the training sessions, as grueling as they can be, and as much as sometimes on the morning of, I'm like, this is gonna hurt today. It's always so, that feeling afterwards is really cathartic, and honestly, like, it's a little bit like the team comes together through it as well.
They don't let you play touch.
We actually play so much touch, Ross. We play so much more touch than I ever thought we would play, and you can imagine I'm not particularly good at it. Say it again, Paul?
Try to play touch.
Well, yeah, we try to play touch. The ball hits the ground probably more than it hits any pair of hands. And I'd love to hear from Paulo's perspective too, like, obviously being a part of 2 different cycles now, refereeing both in the men's and the women's competitions. Same thing, like, from physical or other kind of like perspectives, like, what are things that surprised you or have changed the most and stuff like that?
I think you're spot on when you say the camaraderie is all there, because we know that we have to suffer. Sevens is suffering for players, for coaches, for referees. If you don't suffer, you definitely didn't have ever refereed a sevens tournament.
No pain, no gain.
The pain that we feel before the tournament starts in the legs shows us how hard we worked. And if you're fresh going to a tournament, you might question yourself, have you trained that hard? Or are you actually really, really fit? That too sometimes. But I think the training sessions and the individual work that we do leading to a tournament or going to a tournament as well, how do you say, put us, that's the easy part. That's put us in a good spot, yes, because we will suffer. And if you train hard, probably you won't suffer that much. And me going from 2 cycles already with different referees, I was one of the youngest, now I'm one of the oldest, probably the second oldest, by the way. But the fitness it needs to be there. And if you struggle with the fitness, as Kai was saying around positioning, you'll struggle with the positioning. You'll struggle to get the accuracy right, because you're not in a good place. You will be 7 minutes very fresh, but the next 7 minutes you will be just like wanted to go to the changing room. It's too hot. It's too damn fast. And you go, okay, I need to go. And even if you are fit enough, you will always actually realize that as well. So there will be moments in the game where if you lose concentration because of it. So it's a big responsibility here on the physical pillar. But as Cisco said, we are paid to referee, not to run.
Mm-hmm.
Running is part of the job. Yes, probably should be 80% of our training, not the gym. You got to look good, right? But the gym should be a complement, complementary to your training work, to get maximal, training to optimize your scores, the speed, the reaction should be there with the gym. But you should train running, because you will run all the time, and that will hurt. No matter how fit you are. I cannot imagine a referee do the job of a player at the sevens. The stand up, tackle, get up again, keep running. They have an advantage. They have 5 substitutions. We don't have substitutions. They can stop once someone gets isolated. We don't. We need to go there, and then it's a fine if you don't reach the 22. It's a fine if you don't reach the 5. So, and you don't want to be that guy, you know? And you tell me if he gives a lot of yellow cards, but you actually don't want to be that guy putting that pressure, because the easy excuse is the referee is fat, the referee is not fit. You don't want to be that guy. So a lot of responsibility towards the individual, ourselves, and the team to have accountability around that pillar.
Yeah, the other thing I think goes with unspoken a lot is how mentally draining a tournament can be. You look at in a sevens match, there can be 4 breakaways and they're all by different players. The referee's got to be there for all of them. But even breakdown to breakdown, you can look at film and criticize, hey, they had their hands on the ground before they got it on the ball, or that player had a really minor side entry, and all of those decisions and non-decisions have to be constantly playing through the referee's mind. And you may only blow your whistle 3 times in a match, but you may be making 100 decisions in 15 minutes. And when you do that, 10 times a day for a long weekend, you can finish, and even without the physical aspect, you can sit down and be completely exhausted just from the mental decision-making process. And like we all know, you talk with the players, you talk with the coaches, and when you get a call wrong, it makes the highlight reel. That's one everyone wants to talk about the entire Sunday and into Monday or Tuesday if you ref Boca. You're explaining all these decisions, but it's all the ones that you get right that no one ever talks about that still really draws on you. So,
this is a question for all of you. Do you in some games, do you ever have like fun in a game, like it's fun and you're like laughing? Can you tell us a little bit situations that would bring you?
Like Schnuggelberger scoring
I'm going to play a clip after you guys tell us of how you really have fun on a rugby pitch being a referee. But I want to hear from you first. Anybody?
I can go first, obviously. We have fun in different ways, obviously, than the players. People say, oh, how can you have fun as a referee? And sometimes fun is just having a good advantage and see a very good play, or something actually around interaction with players can happen, like you should be square, and he goes, oh, can you referee the same way to the other team? And I'll go, come on, you need to be better than that. All these interactions sometimes with players can be funny, and we need to be professional, especially going high for the World Series where you have television, you have the mic ref that everyone can see, but at the same time, with respect, you can have those funny interactions. So I don't know if Cisco remembers, I was in Vancouver 2 years ago. You remember the explanation I gave to the Canadian girls around the shot clock with the dawing situation?
Yes.
So obviously a couple of debuts in the Canadian team, the women's team. And in the sevens, we have the 30 seconds shot clock, either to convert or to kick off again. And she missed out the conversion. So she let the 30 seconds go. The shot clock gives a little bit of doing sound. And actually, you need to kick it before it reaches 0. And then she went to the kickoff again, and then she let it go again. So, and she didn't understand at the beginning. So I gave the free kick, and while we were setting up for the scrum, because the opposition then shows a scrum, I actually took the opportunity to explain. I was unfortunate, probably with my language, but at the same time, it was funny. Everyone laughed a little bit. I think everyone outside the rugby field laughed as well. But it's very nice to have those to have empathy. And for me, fun is to have a referee a good game of rugby where I facilitated something, promoted something, but at the same time can be funny things like being bashed by a player, and then your pride is hurt, but you need to stand up and continue referee. And then we have good banter afterwards with the players around it. And next time if you do it, I'll give you a red card or something like that. Just create that interaction. Sure, Cisco has a couple as well.
Well, Tom. Let's go.
The most fun I ever had was in Key West. It was Key West versus Miami, and all I wanted was Key West to score, and they were getting thumped, 30, 40 points in a very social match. And they're finally, it's 70th minute, their scrum half carrying the ball, has a 3-on-1 on the outside. All he's got to do is draw and pass, takes contact, follow and play, nice, perfect trailing position, pick that ball up, pass it to the wing. No big deal. Wing goes and scores. I don't think anybody saw it except the one Miami defender. And then it was after the match, they come up and, did you make a pass in that game? yeah, I wanted them to score. And then I was dick of the day and had to drink some beers.
Of course.
Kai?
Yeah. Well, Cisco, go for
No, it's okay.
it first.
No, you got it.
Go, Kai, because you were ready.
Okay, yeah. So, I think you can have fun in different ways on the rugby pitch. I relate quite a bit to what Paolo was saying. I think there are different scenarios. Like if you've had a team you've had numerous times, the players know you get on well. Generally it's more of a lighthearted game. Then I also just sometimes walk off the field knowing like, hey, this was just a good game of rugby to watch. Let alone ref. But it's like you walk off the field almost a bit satisfied. Like, damn, that was a fun Saturday for me. Yeah.
Ross, tell us. You've been
having fun.
a long time,
I
man.
think
You must have a few fun histories.
I think the most fun I ever had was when I got to ref back in England and got to ref my dad's old team Wasps. It was the B side, and just the amount of banter that everybody in England thinks they're a great player, so they have a comment to make about every single breakdown and every single call you make. But it was still just a lower level game in England, but it was I had a great time, and the social afterwards was obviously great, and it was mostly just the banter. I couldn't believe how much they talked. It was insane.
Ross, I'll jump in on that, and it's not because they are English, but it is because they are English.
Yes.
I had a game this weekend in the Tropical Sevens, and I was watching one of the referees. I think it was Justin Ale, and he gave a yellow card for a tip tackle. No, a deliberate knock-on. And the player was a Barbarians team mixed with the French. So a good mix, British and the French. And then he came off the field complaining about, this referee, I tried to intercept the ball and he gave me a yellow card. And I'll go, yeah, he was completely right. So you took your arm out. You didn't catch the ball. What did you expect? Oh, but I'm a level 4 referee in England. Wait a minute. Oh, you're going for here? Okay. And then I let him go, and then I built a story around it. And I'm like, okay, so I'm an international referee. I do the World Series, and I was in the Olympic Games just 2 years ago. Just to let you know, it's completely right. It's a risk and reward situation where you take the risk, you might score a try. If you don't actually be accurate, get a yellow card and sometimes a penalty try as well. And you just see him fail.
You get that?
Slowly. He was a big fella. But he started to disappear slowly in the chair. I go, said nothing after for the 2 minutes.
That is so good.
Cisco, what's your story?
Yeah, I feel like in general, when I have fun in rugby is when sort of like what Paulo was saying at the end of his reflection, like it's when you have that feeling of like you facilitated a good game. And I think for me, I get so much joy out of people having fun playing rugby and being a part of that enjoyment for them. The last time that happened for me at a level that I was to the point like smiling, laughing on the field. I was lucky enough last year to go to Stellenbosch to do the High Performance Academy at the Stellenbosch Academy of Sport, and it was a whole week of prepping for a game, or it was a long course where we got to referee school kids, or not school kids, like basically dormitory rugby from the schools nearby. And so these games are games that are like, they're supposed to happen and then they pull out the last second. And as you get closer to like the Saturday, the games are a little bit more like proper or intense and stuff like this. And so I had a game on a Friday where, the teams just rolled up like, 20 minutes, 15 minutes before kickoff. They're doing their stretches. And I'm like, oh, I don't know how this game's really going to go. And as soon as they start playing, it's like, it's so much banter. All the guys know each other. Like, they're just saying the silliest stuff and like actually playing some phenomenal rugby at the same time. And like every decision they're contesting. And then as soon as you explain it, they're like, oh, okay, it's fair. And it was one of those experiences that for me, I was like, this is what I love about rugby. This is like what is so much fun when you just get to be a part of a game that like everyone cares about, but they know that it's not really about the game. It's about what we're going to do after the game and about like the fact that we're going to play each other again and we'll see who gets the better of each other. So for sure, like those kinds of experiences are just like so special and kind of keep me going for sure.
Yeah, as a good binary marker, if you can walk away from the game and the team say this team won and that team lost, that's the best feeling for a referee. Where you want to have a good game, but it's I don't want to be out there deciding who wins. That's for the players to do. So
that's what I hear a lot here in Florida, Tom.
Well, they rarely say it. Or normally, it's we really won that game if it wasn't for the referee.
So let's put a little clip before we go of how you have fun here in Florida. Okay, being a ref. Just watch.
I love this clip.
Oh yeah, love it.
This one's my favorite though. This is so good.
Can we also talk about the bigger between the first and the second clip?
That was fun. And they were playing with a gigantic ball.
Yeah. I didn't even notice the first time. It was only the second time as he's diving with it that I'm like, wait, that's a massive ball.
It definitely hurt when he dove for that try.
He definitely broke a rib.
Lee on his face as he's awarding his own try.
Well, guys, it's been an hour. Really a pleasure. Paulo, thank you for coming. Are you planning to move to Florida at any time? Because we actually need some good refs here. And, we had Cisco at one point and he left.
We had Lex and he left. And we had
Khalil
left.
I will try. I'll try. Not with this weather, though.
It's too hot.
No, it's too cold.
Okay, beautiful.
No, cheers, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Charlie.
Okay, it's been a pleasure, everybody. Kai, thank you. Cisco,
thank you.
as usual.
Charlie,
Ross.
if you give me mate, I might come.
Oh, are you drink mate?
Oh, claro.
Ooh.
Terrible stuff.
And
Terrible
this is
stuff.
a good one, huh? This is a good one. It's not, those RG mates. This is
Puddle
your
water.
wine.
Puddle water.
Good stuff. Okay, Paulo, are you going to the finals this Saturday? Is Tom going to drag you?
Toronto.
Yes? Oh, you're in Toronto. Okay.
Best
Well,
of luck.
thank you, everybody. We'll see you soon. I'll see you Saturday, you guys. Not Cisco.
Bye. See you again soon, I'm sure.
Thanks,
Okay.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
See you Saturday, Charlie.